Friends, in this video for I Thought Wealth, I'm going to talk on something very topical. The racket in IPOs, a never ending story. That's the topic of this podcast. I remember one of the first IPOs done by a mutual fund. It was a private mutual fund and it was an issue for which a lot of hype had been built in. When you build hype into an IPO, the obvious place where this hype shows up is in grey market premium. So, in those days, it was believed that the grey market was made in Gujarat, mainly in Rajkot and Surat. So, people believed that these markets were places where investors were ready to buy these issues at a much higher price than the issue was being made. Now, having a premium for a mutual fund IPO was unthinkable. It was absurd. But that was the case. So, the 10 rupee IPO was selling at a 9 rupee premium. There was nothing intrinsic in that mutual fund. It had no investments. It hadn't even raised the money. It was just a case of demand supply. But people got away with that murder because whoever bought these in the grey market had to honor those transactions, and the guy who sold it to him knew fully well that it had no merit in having a premium. This issue was the Morgan Stanley IPO, and in my view, probably the worst scam in our market history post liberalization. But IPOs continue to have grey market premiums. They continue to be traded by anonymous people, and this anonymous trading has a bearing and influence on what ordinary investors like us do. For example, most of the people who apply in IPOs take cues from grey market premium. So, effectively, if you are a company or an investment banker who wants your IPO to succeed, there is no way you can make it succeed without creating a grey market premium. So, there is a cosmic connect between companies, investment bankers, and the grey market. And this cosmic connect has survived decades. It has survived several versions of very tight regulation, and it has survived a lot of policing. So, this has become an hazard which influences investor behavior. It creates expectations which have no basis, and it probably doesn't even fulfill them. So, effectively, IPOs are run on the strength of grey market premiums rather than on the economic fundamentals of the companies. Then we have added multiple layers to create scarcity. So, what does a premium indicate? A premium basically indicates that an issue will have scarcity, there are more buyers, and therefore, by applying to that issue, you can meet that scarcity as an investor. So, these scarcity games have taken a different level now because the shares offered to the retail public is very small. Companies which are loss making cannot offer. So, the whole ecosystem and the structuring of IPOs is today helping the grey market premium. So, if the big investors gang up together, become anchor investors and offer to subscribe to a good part of an IPO as QIBs, then selling the issue is a walk in the park because all you need to do is create some interest in the grey market. It's all going on out there. And investors who do not understand the dynamics of how all this works genuinely believe that they are buying great businesses. There is another layer of activity which makes this job of creating grey market premium easier. That is IPO financing. So, the HNIs get a lot of money at low single digit interest rates to apply to IPOs. So, they put in little money, the financier gives a lot of money, and then they subscribe to an issue. When hundreds of such HNIs gang up to subscribe to an IPO, they create more hype and more perception of scarcity. So, this whole game of IPOs has become how perception of future scarcity is seeded, created, grown, managed, made into a bubble and finally pricked. So, all the good work done on the regulatory side for post listing management of IPOs and their volatility are negated even before the IPO lists. So, while the post listing volatility is managed very sensibly thanks to a very listening regulator over the last 10-15 years, the investment banking ecosystem continues to game the pre-listing activity. So, you have financing, you have curation of grey market premium and management of perception of demand for the IPO. So, these three things are being done. In my view, all this is happening in a void. The void is visibility on how the company will perform after listing. That visibility is available only to the QIBs. It is not available to the retail investor because the offer document does not make any forward looking statement which helps the retail investor form any perception about the company. It is not rocket science for you or me to understand that the QIB has had a thorough look into the company. He has done a due diligence. So, he has definitely been provided a lot more information than you and I have as retail investors. So, the information gap between the QIB and the retail investor is at its widest in the history, and there is no way that a retail investor can form an informed opinion about the future of any IPO, while there is certainty that the QIB participant, the large investor, has complete access and support to form a reasonable estimate of how the company will perform in the future. This is again an unintended consequence of how we structure this whole business of doing an IPO. A lot of this structuring actually happened in an era when there was no demand for IPOs, when doing an IPO was difficult. So, we allowed larger people some access, better access, a better participation, so that the rest of the IPO can be easily sold. But today, do we really have a case for the same system to continue? Or is there a case for something more transparent? Should we actually have a mechanism where companies present visibility about their future? On an even more transparent note, should we actually do the IPO only on the stock exchange so that the whole concept of grey market premium is demolished? In my sense, something drastic deserves to be done for the sake of our retail investors. Markets will become broader, deeper and more transparent if we keep the retail investor in the center of the IPO ecosystem and not the QIBs. Because most of these retail investors don't even know that a large investor needs to hold his shares only for 30 days and they can sell on after that. So, all this hype that happens between the listing day and the time when large supply can come ends up transferring shares from very knowledgeable owners to ignorant owners, from large investors to retail, in different ways. I think that time has come for us to take a deeper look at this ecosystem, to demolish this whole notion of grey market premium through transparency, to create real participation, transparent price discovery even before the IPO. Because only if there is transparent price discovery even before the IPO and the way the IPO is done, can we have a genuine price discovery post listing. So, there is a need. The time has come for pre-listing price discovery. Only then we would be able to demolish this racket called grey market premium, which has been a curse of our market for nearly 3 decades. We need to put an end to this, and we need to put it in a way in which it cannot resurface in some other form. In summation, post listing volatility in our IPO process is managed reasonably well, but we need a solution to pre listing volatility. We need a solution to volatility that comes from the time an IPO is put before the public and the time it is subscribed to. The way demand is generated, the way society understands the demand for a company's stock in an IPO must be far more transparent. If it is, we would demolish the grey market manipulations of premium, and we would bring about a more transparent price discovery in the pre-issue IPO process. That is something that we can easily do in a world in which technology is available. Everything can be done digitally through the stock exchanges and transparently in ways which everybody can understand and regulators can see. Time for Gen Next IPOs and time to kill grey market premiums. Thank you.